Welcome to the Client Podcast, where we empower women of colors in their pursuit of leadership roles. I'm your host, Felicia Smith, the founder of The Climb Inc., a 501c3 organization committed to increasing the number of women of color in leadership and managerial positions. Each week, we dive into topics that have been mystified and give you the real, relevant, and practical insights on how to navigate as a woman of color in these spaces. And today is a special topic. And our topic for today is Coins and the Climb, Mastering Money Moves with our guest, Nadia Vanderhall. Welcome, Nadia, to the Climb Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be
here. Super excited. I'm going to read my bio and then I'm going to tell you how I learned about Nadia. So Nadia is a multi-hyphenate, okay? Financial planner and educator, boasting over a decade of experience in the financial services industry. She has masterfully, and this is very true, crafted campaigns and content across a broad range of areas, including women and money, which we're talking about today, investing, personal economy, consumer spending, behavioral finance, and more. Her impressive track record includes collaborations with an array of companies and brands such as Facebook, Public Invest, Commonwealth, the National Urban League, Google, Wethos, the Columbia University. In these roles, Nadia has expertly curated financial insights and experiences that have significantly influenced the financial landscape. Her work in the financial services industry, particularly in brand campaigns and messaging for product launches, has generated an astounding, guys, 2 billion, not million, billion with a B, in revenue and garnered press coverages in notable publications like the New York Times and Ad Age. In 2016, Nadia founded the Brands and Bands Strategy Group, a unique organization that merges her expertise in marketing and finance to offer comprehensive financial planning and education. Through this platform, she provides specialized financial planning and education content tailored to both the affluent and accessible audiences. I love that. Nadia's deep insights and analysis of the economy have been widely recognized with features in the prominent media outlets, including Bloomberg, CBS News, Fast Company, US Today, Best Life, Washington Post, US News and World Report, Business Leaders UK, Newsweek, and Ellevest, and among others. Nadia's unique combination of marketing and finance expertise, I'm going to add with some comedic relief in it also, has made her a highly sought after expert in her field. Her commitment to financial literacy and dedication to helping others make informed financial decisions have earned her respect and admiration from her peers and clients, and it will also with this client audience. And her ability to identify market trends, anticipate changes, and deliver innovation solutions to her clients have solidified her reputation as a true expert and leader in her field. She's an alumnus of Johnson C. Smith University, HBCU, give it up, where she studied mass communication. And she is a proud member in my soror of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and has been recognized as the LinkedIn top voice and a member of Forward Black. Additionally, she's an avid philanthropist and a lover of art. Love your bio. Listen, if anybody was thinking, who is Nadia and why is she here? Your bio speaks it all. Like, sis, you got it all written down. So I really enjoy that. And I love Nadia's brand, the brands and the bands. She sends out newsletters. I won't say weekly, but I think sometimes it's a little more often than weekly.
Yes.
So many gems. And so that's how Nadia lands on this podcast. I've been following Nadia for a lot of years, actually. I want to say at least 4 to 5. And I think we initially connected on Facebook because we're both Deltas, but then I began to follow your brand and your newsletters, and it's always gems. And what I love about our newsletters, guys, which why you have to subscribe, is it is both information, but very fun. So like lots of memes and things that are relatable. So I love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
That's yes. Good. So go ahead.
You said it was good to know about the memes and fun. So yeah. That's good to
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it makes sense why you work in marketing also, because you're just really good
Mhm.
at it.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into finances and women and money. I mean,
Mhm.
our audience primarily are women, of course, who are looking to climb in their career. And when that career climb comes, hopefully it should come with some additional resources. But as I was doing a little bit research and getting ready for the podcast, I was looking at just the wealth gap. Like we've talked a lot about the wealth gap. This month was women's equality, but last month we talked about in August, women of color in our wealth gap, Black women, Latino women, Asian women. But as I look at the wealth of families, so a white family's median wealth was $287,000, a 29% growth in 2019. So this is 2018. But
Mhm.
Black families, the median wealth was $45,000, which
Wow.
was astounding to me, like what that piece is. And it says that Black families had 16 cents per dollar of the white family median wealth. And for Hispanics, theirs was $61,000 in 2022, and they had 21 cents per dollar of median wealth. So a lot of times we talk about wealth and we talk about, hey, we all, particularly us who are, maybe first generation college students, or those who are trying to make it, or are the family member who made it.
Mhm.
There are a lot of pieces that we don't talk about. Like we don't talk about the fact that a lot of those family members are supporting other family members, right? Like they may have a big mama or a regular mama who they got to pay the car note or help with the gas, and all of that like affects our wealth in general. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on like these wealth gaps and how it impacts all the different communities?
There's two things I wanted to focus on, not only the wealth gap, but also how we see generational wealth. So when it comes to the wealth gap, can you even imagine that was statistics are what, from 2018? So imagine we've already went through this pandemic, we're going post-pandemic and inflation, how much those numbers are going to look even when they come out with updated numbers. So those are up to date, but just how it's been impacted by not only the positioning that we had with finance or our personal finance before the pandemic, but how it's going to shift during. While we had stimulus checks and I don't know, but also the inflation has deflated the dollar across the board. But imagine how it looks in households. I've been seeing posts about people saying about groceries and lights and the mortgage payments have gone up and escrow and the rent and stuff. And that all of that compounds. I know we talk about compound interest is always around saving, investing, and things like that, but it also compounds differently or the opposite when things like inflation, um, getting paid, getting laid off, and things like that come into play. So when it comes to hearing those numbers and it pairs down to the family, especially people of color, I'm I'm a mixture of it. I'm paranoid, but I'm posed to know that we are resilient. We've been resilient throughout time. So with even seeing what's going on in the economy, I know that we'll still figure out a way to do it, because even as the goalposts for us have moved a little bit more, we've hit certain levels. We're angel investors, we're accredited investors, we're doing things in certain pockets that need to progress. But when it comes to the generational wealth, I've been saying that since the pandemic is that instead of seeing it as being generational wealth, it needs to be intergenerational wealth, meaning the wealth that you are in, the wealth that you're going to leave, but also the wealth that impacts on the day to day. So it's just not your kids. It could be your cousin. It could be your family, your cousin, your grandma and them. And then it's just seeing how what you do on a day to day impacts that intergenerational wealth aspect of it. And I think about those who are not only the cousin that made it, but also those that are foreign cousins, in a sense that they've left their home country and they still have to send money back. They still have to send money back. They have to pay money to this because it's not seen as honorable. But it can be, yes, it's good for you to have that honor and the means to do so, but it can also make you like, heck, I can't get ahead because you're steady trying to feed, but it's like, how are you being fed? So it's always, when it comes to the gap as well as the intergenerational wealth, it's like finding that balance. And one thing that I love to say is that as women, as people of color, we have to try not only find the balance in our bank accounts, but find the balance of being accountable and then how we're also aligned to our financial goals and the multiple elements that pull at our wallets. It's not just inflation, it could be family, but also our intentionality around how we money.
Come on now. I think you just actually went into the first segment, which is somebody should have told me. Because to your point, somebody should have told me that all that was included. Because typically when we think about money, we think just in terms of a budget. Like I remember when I went to school, nobody was talking about generational wealth. It was just well, how much you making. I think I started out like $43,000, which in my family that was good. Like I was.
Oh, you were amazing, honey. You was it. You was epsilon, upper epsilon. I'm going to clown. I'm gonna say that.
Hello.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But no one ever talked about that stuff. So what are some things you think that somebody should have told you or should be telling people at this stage?
As someone who's just changed their first number in their age, if I at this time would have told Nadia 20 years ago, I just kind of laid up into what my age is. Sis, know what a budget is. Because one thing I think about is back when I got my first job out of college, I just wanted to take anything to get from my hometown and get back to Charlotte. And I took an $11 job, so hour job. So I was staying in an apartment trying to buy groceries. I ain't used to buying groceries stuff for it's the calf. Trying to figure out my way. Then I want to get a retirement plan, but I had no idea how my money management looked like. I know what my parents taught me. This sounded almost like a different world, but it's different than when your parents teach you to when you have to actually do the thing.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the biggest things that I wish someone would have told me is that it's cool. I'm gonna tell you how to do it, but it's gonna look different whenever you have to do it. It's gonna have to look different for you figuring out how your budget looks like versus your parents giving you allowance versus your college saying, here, you're gonna have on, you got this amount of meals on this card, you have whatever. And I think like I said, the kids are all right now, as far as seeing how the world is, they got TikTok and things like that. But we didn't have that back in the day. We had to figure it out on our own. Our parents told us, oh, this would have happened or this whatever. But their perception of reality was in a different time and a different economy than ours was. Because when I came out of college, it was a recession then. And I didn't even freaking know it.
I didn't either.
I
didn't either.
I was like, oh, that's what that was. I just thought times was bad. I just thought my child getting outsourced to India. It was just the time. I didn't know until it was like years later. I'm like, dang. But the things that I wish I would have known then, it's like, hey, have an emergency fund. Or are you going to eventually go and drain your 401k to become your emergency fund? So it's a lot of those things that when it comes to money, your parents can tell you, but oftentimes it's going to take you experiencing those things for it to click. And I wish someone would have told me that. And I know a lot of people now when they're talking about their money, oh, I wish my mom. No, it was a question that I asked on my Instagram stories the other day. It's like, what did your parents teach you about money? And someone said nothing, or someone said intergenerational debt. And I had to take a step back and I said that our parents didn't know but what they knew about money.
Agreed.
Our parents only knew what they could do. So my thing, how can someone teach you what they don't know or what they don't have? And
Correct.
I was like, oh, the boomers don't have this for say days because they were trying to keep a house together, let alone trying to and send kids to college and make sure kids had what they had, let alone trying to do for retirement. So you don't know what you don't know, but oftentimes the seasons that you have with money is what's going to season the money that you're going to have later. So that's the thing I wish someone would have told me is that, yeah, I'm going to teach you or show you about money until it becomes practical or in the position that you're in, it's not going to click.
Agreed. I'm gonna flip that though. So now I know what age you just turned. Happy birthday. I'm 1 year behind you. But what do you think somebody should tell us? Like even women of color who there are probably some women of color this year who made their first 100,000, went into their first executive, whatever job. What if somebody should have told them about that?
I think what someone should have told me, because a couple years ago, I'm a small business owner now, so it looks different, but it's still practical. But when I jumped from making that $11 an hour to hitting right over six figures, I think that I wish I had someone to tell me then is don't be afraid of money. Because if you come from a land or a time where you are not used to money, it can actually do two things. You can either go lifestyle creep, you're just gonna be buying up and just blowing, having a money bag like Rick Ross playing, or you're
Hello.
gonna either creep or you're gonna either do this. You're gonna have a fist.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're scared. The scarcity mindset can go even more of a turn when you make more money. So I
Yeah.
wish someone would have told me, don't be afraid of money. I think I talked about this in the blog post. Don't be afraid of money, but also know how to money. What does that look like? Because now you see social media telling you if you make six figures, you should have the boom, 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 boom. You should have this little like cookie cutter thing. But personal finance is personal. So it's not going to necessarily look the same.
That's
So with
good.
someone making six figures, that's good. I'm happy. I also know what's going to happen with your taxes. So just
Yes.
knowing about tax planning, knowing about doing budgeting cash flow, learning how to say, okay, I'm used to make $60,000. Now I'm making $100,000. How is my check going to look, and how am I going to operate my money now? To say, even if I'm making more money, yeah, you can buy yourself a little bit more, but how are you going to position it with the more that you have? So I'm understanding what my means is, but I'm understanding too how to be more meaningful with my money now that I have more of it. If I would have had someone tell me that as if I when I was in my scarcity time, I probably even be light years of where I am now. So yeah, because
Agreed. What I'm grateful that somebody told me, and I don't
mm-hmm,
even know if someone told me more so than it was just a part of a class I took, maybe,
right,
was the importance of, to your point, even just putting something away in your 401k, in instead of just, you know, particularly if your company matches,
right.
like not just
Or
being
the
like,
impact of matches is so critical. Yeah.
talk about it. But that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people, they get to a point in their career and they just haven't done it. And now you're either halfway to retirement and you're like, oh shucks, I gotta catch up.
And I wish corporations did a better job of this. It's probably why I'm trying to segue some in my business into this, is that you have these 401ks, you have these funds, you have these benefits, but you're not necessarily educating your employees on how to take much is check benefit of the benefit per se. So if I have a 401k, I have match. So how does that match within my paycheck? How can I contribute? Because people will say, oh, I need to contribute this and I'm not contributing enough. But I had someone come to me and say, I'm only contributing 20% of my paychecks.
Whoa.
I feel like I'm doing enough. I wanted to flat them. A,
Whoa.
the fact that we've been, again, this conditioning when it comes to currency is crazy because you've been told and sold on social media that you need to be doing this and doing that. And then you're actually doing well.
Yes.
Need more insight. And I wish corporations would say, okay, yeah, we're going to do this 6% match. So how does that flow into not only the money, the dough that you give now, but how is it going to grow over time? And then how do you educate your employees on the funds within their retirement fund? Because people just
Agreed.
put money over there, but they're not allocating. And then they come down the line about to retire and call me and want me to educate them on how to align their
Late.
allocations. I
It's
had
a
a
no
lot
late.
of people last month to do so. I'm like, friend, you're knocking at the door and now you want to know what's going on. But I think the whole educational aspect that some employers should do is that yes, you have good benefits, but how are you educating your employees on taking action on them and aligning for their goals? Because a lot of people know about target date funds, but do you know about large cap funds? Do you know about small cap funds? Do you know about asset allocation and diversification? You're not educating them on that. So
That's good stuff right there. That is good stuff. So let's dive into our second segment, which is called Truth Is. And we're going to talk about the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth about finances, but really some of the common fallacies about money management. We've talked a little bit about that in wealth sustainment. So what are some truths or some things that you feel like, besides what we just talked about, that are not being discussed that women of color need to be successful and to get the paper together?
So one thing that I have been seeing, I'm in a Black women in tech group. Obviously, I'm not in tech, but as someone that has been noticing a lot of Black women going into tech as a financial planner, you go where your people are. One of the things that I have been noticing is they come. This is like the new money group. Not I'm just keeping it honest. But I'm noticing too that this new money group is, yes, they're getting all this money, they get in the bag, they able to do whatever, but they're not saving in emergency funds. And then it becomes not as much so fun when something happens. Something happens like a layoff, something happens like a reorg. And now we're noticing some corporations are trying to play with compensation where it looks like your paycheck is lesser than what it used to be. So going back to understanding what emergency funds look like is, they're supposed to have the 3 to 6 months of savings, but a lot of people don't understand their savings formula. And when you're moving into another level of money, or even you're in a level of money, but you don't know how to save at one level, how's it going to look whenever you get more money and you need to learn how to save at that level? It's still your formula, the formula that I used to have back when I was making 50,000 or 70,000, it shifted more when I was making 98, 110, or what have it. So, but the formula I had then, I was able to calculate and realign when I made more. So knowing that emergency funds are essential, because it saddens me every time now I look on the headlines, I'm strolling. Who was that? PwC, I think, yeah. Just laid off 1,800. Different companies just laying off, and tech is getting hit really hard right now.
It
And
is, tech is.
it's scary for tech to be one of those big areas that we are going into as women of color, people of color, to see the layoffs happening when we already laid up in it, meaning we made transitions. Emergency funds are critical and essential, no matter if you're making 100,000 or making 10,000. But having a rainy day fund and knowing that you're supposed to have 3 to 6 months of expenses, and going back to my whole thing about the savings formula, starting with only saving, understanding how much your life costs.
That's good.
Then understanding, yes, I need to have 3 to 6 months, but then breaking down the goals even more to say, how much is the month it is, but how much can I contribute from my paycheck to save with at least that month? When you get that month saved, you're able to say, okay, this is what I can do. This is how long it's going to take. This is project management. You have a goal and you work it back with reverse engineering. So whenever you get that month saved, you're able to say, okay, it's going to take me 5 months or 10 months or whatever, based upon the expenses and how my money circulates now. So going back to the thing is that layoffs happen. Emergency funds are not just necessarily when you get laid off. It could be if you have to go to the hospital for a couple months and you're not going to be able to have disability or long-term care or anything like that. That's an emergency. It's that seeing what potential emergencies that you have and the risk of them happening, and then reallocating how to alleviate the risk of the prolonged impact that it will have. So it's knowing that emergency funds are essential, but also making sure that you know how much your life costs. How can I save how much? And it also, to say this, the right vehicle or financial product to save into. So
that's good.
Emergency funds, people have been putting money into a regular savings account. I love saying regular degular. If you have an idea who used to say
I like it too.
I'm not going to talk about somebody because she just had a baby. That's Cardi. But the thing that is going into is that regular savings accounts are the typical traditional savings accounts that that we know and love. They barely pay you any interest. They 0.01% APY. APY is annual percentage yield, meaning the more that you save, the more that you pay by the bank. Traditional savings accounts give that 0.1, well, pennies. But on the high yield savings accounts, you're seeing 4 to 5%. And even with the Federal Reserve going to make some moves in the next week and a half or so that we're recording this, that even if the APY drops down, it's still going to be more than a regular savings account. So putting your putting your emergency fund in a high yield savings account while you're saving towards that goal, you're getting paid the interest as you save, you're getting paid more. So it's circulating your money more. So in case of emergency does happen, you already have some saved versus none saved.
Yeah,
I would
that's
tell a 20-year-old Nadia but I don't even think high yield savings accounts were around then. But knowing that you're
remember
saving
them either.
right kind of products. This is the product person from years ago talking. The right products that fit your goals. One of the things I used to tell someone is that you set your financial goals. That you go back and look at to see what financial product is going to fit those goals. So if you notice, and yes, you need to have a savings account or regular, but if you want for like just in case something happens, but if you want to save for emergencies, pack it away so you can't touch it, you're going to have put it in a high yield savings account. And if you want to save for a down payment of the house, you save up some money into a high yield savings account and then revert it over into a CD so it can get even interest no matter what the APY does. And
That's gems.
another thing is
Keep going.
going back to the budget situation. I have been telling people it's the whole ratio. I think I just posted a video about this. Is that if you don't, you can't measure what you can't track. And I see budgeting as a plan for your money for the month, and your paycheck sets the pace. So when you're not, you have these ratios that you see, but you'll understand the reality. How can you know that your money is going where it needs to go? So you don't understand where your money needs to go. How do you know if a 50-30-20 is going to work for your budgeting? How do you know if a 70-20-10 is going to work for your budget? I usually tell people to look into zero-based budgeting because it gives every dollar a job and you're able to align and calculate your money more efficiently. So budgeting is your friend no matter your income level. It is. Because I saw someone today, bless her heart, where in her bank account, she paid everything and she had $3.86 left after when she got paid. She had that in her bank account. Okay, a minute now. My water was going. And she was sad about that. But the thing that I was commenting back with her is like, hey, do you negotiate your bills? She said, huh? Do you go through, see how much your budget is, see how much you're spending, what your expenses? Do you go and see, can I negotiate my cable bill down? What am I using and how can I make the utilization work? So whenever you're able to negotiate those bills, able to understand your spending cycle, and then whatever you save, you save. So if I save some money on my cable bill every month, that's going into my high yield savings account, which is going to go towards my emergency fund. So
that is awesome.
Your money.
I mean, I know one thing I do because now it's not the cable bills, it's that we all have so many of these Netflix, Hulu, Max, and those things add up to be much more than the cable bill, by the way. So I'll cancel mine until the show I want to see a show and then turn it back on.
I do until I can, and then when you cancel it, the thing I've been telling people, when you cancel, more than likely, because the Wall Street Journal, no, it wasn't Wall Street Journal. Yeah, it was the Wall Street Journal. We have this, we don't want to see you go. Yep. Here, do this instead. I was like, it's lesser. And I'm like, you could have been gave me that, friend.
Correct.
It's like people not looking through not only how much they're spending, but how they're spending it. So if you're knowing that I don't watch Netflix and I'm so close, I'm inching not to cut it off. I'm like, well, what tiers can I get it down where I can still watch it? And then whatever I save, I can save. It's like these streaming services, these junk fees and things like that are what eating it at your wallet. It's crazy.
So what do you say to the woman who's like, it's too overwhelming? Like if I have to look at, in the age of Klarna and PayPal, Affirm, and all of these, they seem like little costs, right? Oh, it's a little 15, and they all add up. So when they think about having this conversation with themselves, they're like, oh no, this is too much. If I got to see how much I'm really spending, what's your advice to them?
And speaking of buy now, pay later, which is the glamorized layaway, isn't that like how things just always come back into the fashion? Anyway.
Yep, layaway.
Yep, layaway has helped many families.
My family.
I remember I furnished my whole first apartment on layaway myself.
Listen, and it worked, didn't it?
Worked. I had that furniture for years. Anyway, buy now, pay later can help you or hurt you because they're like micro loans that allow you to still either get things, but if you are in need, there's things like Instacart is on buy now, pay later, which is interesting, but good. But the thing is though, when you look at those, it's just this or whatever. I saw somebody the other day on Threads that said that their buy now, pay later got put into collections because they missed a payment. So
One
it's
payment?
so it's starting to be to the point. The same thing I tell people when they use their credit card utilization. You do the same thing with your buy now, pay later. I'm not gonna be one of these finance bros that tell you, oh, you can't have it. Listen, if you know it's something that you want right now, the same way that you budget for it, budget your payments against that as well. So you say, okay, I'm gonna get it, but I'm gonna go ahead and pay it off. But going back to what you were saying, is like when all the small things are starting to add up and compound in a different way, what should they do? Focus on one thing at a time. I know you want to date them all and get everything cleared up at the same time, but you focus on one thing at a time, it'll compound as well. So I'm going through looking at my expenses, going through looking at my bank statements or whatever, and I'm noticing that this one, I have a whole list of things. So I'm gonna start going through each category to see what can I do to curb it. I had a list of small things that make big impacts when it comes to your money. It was one thing like paying off one debt, setting a budget, saving your first $1,000. It's little things like that. But even if you're making big money, those little things are going to seem scary to get done. So going back and looking at your Carnadas and your buy now, pay laters and say, what can I lessen? How can I take the money that I do have, if I have the liquidity or the cash flow, to go ahead and narrow that down? And then setting a threshold of how much I'm going to allow myself to do this thing. So if I know that I go ahead and pay everything down, but I know that I usually go on this cycle of buying stuff on buy now, pay later. What's my budget within that? What's your budget or allocation within that? I'm going to allow myself, because we don't just pay bills and die. You have to have things in balance. So how much
Exactly.
am I going to allocate myself that fits within my budget, fits within my spending cycle, that makes sense? So if I'm saying I usually buy the latest drop or whatever on who that just came out with something, H&M, they had an auto winner drop that everybody's talking about right now. I haven't seen it, but I'm only going to allow myself this amount of money to only rotate, cycle out on my buy now, pay later for this amount of time.
That's good.
It has to be paid off by this time. It has to. And sometimes you can't make non-negotiables with yourself, especially if you're trying to nibble away at whatever your goal is.
That's
So
good.
you have to focus on one thing, figure out a formula to make it happen. And then when you accomplish that, you go to the next thing. You take the momentum and keep it going. Everything, money is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we can't say we want loan money. We can't say we want generational wealth if we're not making small things along the line happen.
That is so good. And
Mhm.
you drop so many gems at one time. I like that. One thing at a time. Like you can't eat like I don't like this metaphor where people
I
say you
know what
can't
you're going to
eat the whole
say.
elephant with one bite,
Mhm.
but it makes sense, right? Like one thing at a time. And I love the budget thing because I came from the layaway generation. So the buy now, pay later, for some reason, this appeals to me because I just came from I used to work at the Marshalls and we put stuff on layaway.
Marshalls, I remember putting stuff on layaway at Kmart, at Walmart, and I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep. First
yeah,
TV, Kmart layaway.
yep.
So yes, but to your point, creating those boundaries of this is how much I can do of this. And when I hit that,
That's it.
done.
That's it.
And guys, I'm not gonna get to it, but Nadia wrote an article about the Amazon Prime because everyone goes crazy on Amazon Prime Day, which it's not necessarily what you think it is. It really isn't the lowest prices. But anyway, we're not gonna go into it. But when Nadia's gonna give you information at the end, go back and read some of her blogs because she talks about stuff, because that's often the time people do a lot of buy now and pay later because they're thinking, oh, this is the big savings,
How do you
biggest savings
think
of the
that
year.
Amazon got into it?
Exactly.
Every company that I have been seeing, I'm like, how are you on buy now, pay later? Why is QT Gas on buy now, pay later? Because
Because
they
no,
know that most people they need that gas to last a Friday, so they're gonna go and get money, get gas on buy now, pay later. But Amazon Prime, Amazon, and Walmart, they come for
biggest.
everybody's money. I'm
They
just
sure are.
Yeah.
So let's go into our last segment, which is called Another Rung Mended, Another Rung Climbed, excuse me. And that's basically based on the metaphor that they talk about with the broken rung and how women of color have a hard time climbing. And so at the end of each episode, we want to leave our audience with just 3 things. If they don't remember anything else you said, which you gave them a lot, so listen to this episode a couple times. What are 2 to 3 things you want to leave them with that they, if they don't know anything else, they need to know this?
This economy is interesting right now because you have articles telling you where you should be at. You have social media telling you where you should be at financially as a person, corporately. But oftentimes we have to layer to see where we at and where we came from. Because oftentimes when we look at back where we came from, especially with finances, especially with career, we are noticed that we are further than we were before. And like I said, that your season, the next season, I mean, it adds something to it. The way that I learned about money and be able to talk about money was a combination of multiple things. I went broke when I got laid off. I taught about that. But also when I got into a job that required me to take a series 6 or 7, and I didn't pass because I was doing the job of 4 people at one time, and my dad was battling cancer, so I lost my job. But I
Wow.
could sit here and tell you everything that was on that test. I don't know how I felt it, but I know that if I wouldn't have felt that test, I wouldn't be doing this
Mm.
season of your life, no matter if you're just getting that 6-figure job or you're just starting to change careers, is that you have to take those transferable skills from each season of your life to formulate a roadmap. And oftentimes I said this on a YouTube video, is that your GP, when you go into it, you plug in the GPS to say, this is where I'm going to go, you have to have a starting point. So your current season or the season before are that starting point. So you know that you want to go to this direction, but the route that you're going to take, you might know the route. Like, this is what they told me to do. But the route that you end up taking, the GPS say redirect, and we're going to lessen your time to get to your destination by going this way or whatever. Be flexible. The thing is, my favorite quote? Be stern in your intentions, but flexible in your implementation or your actions. It's that even if you are making 6 figures, be okay to say, I might mess up, but how can I make up and how can I do it? And what did I learn from that? That goes again, being flexible in your GPS is your goals, positioning, and scale. So when you understand what your goals are, you set your position, and you might can scale or you might segue a different way. So don't allow that you don't know, I don't know this. Go learn it. We have Google and God. So you
Amen.
have to look.
I love that.
And what's one thing that I would say? The next one I would say is give yourself the accountability, the layer accountability, meaning knowing what's going on with your bank accounts, but knowing how you handle your accounts. So the accountability of it all, your accounts and how you handle it, or accountability, and just understanding what money makes you tick. What does that look like? What is your habit? And another thing, and this actually is something I really want to drive home because it's in my notes, is that we as Black people are dealing with a different type of money. We have a systematic, but the systematic is not necessarily just keeping us from doing certain things. Those behavioral finance aspects it came from slavery, it came from Jim Crow, it came from the Renaissance era, it comes for different things, is the way that we shape our perception of money. Behavioral finance is not necessarily how you budget. It goes back to what I was saying about the accountability. It's how you handle it. One of the things that I tell my clients when I first meet with them is, what is your money story? What is your money story? What is your first time that you understood money? Because most of the time it goes a little something like this, especially if you look like us. Well, I didn't know I was poor because I thought I had everything until I looked back and noticed that we were poor.
Yeah.
So we understanding how that season, our perception of us is like, oh, we fine, we rich. But instead, you really won't. But how does that impact how you handle money now? How does that impact how you spend, budget, save, and the wealth building aspect of your money? When you understand how that goes into your money story, you have the option right then to change your money story to be what you want to be versus what you used to be. And I
That's
think
good.
when we start understanding the behavior, like a lot of people who look like this line on my shirt, they're starting to talk about behavioral finance.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, well, they started to talk about behavior finance. I need to start talking about
Hello?
it. Because when we understand that the way of it, what's the thing? Oh, we don't, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. That's the aspect of behavioral finance.
Sure is.
It
That
comes
makes
from
sense.
that time and how we handle money. Like, oh, we have a rob Peter to pay Paul, but if you have multiple bank accounts, understand how your bank accounts work and how you handle your money within it, you won't have to rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you be noticing that you'll have it either or all when it's time to pay that bill.
Gems. I need like one of those sound effects. That was good. That was good.
Yes.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul is a part of our behavior, financial behavior, and it's part of our money story too. Because some of us
Yep,
learn.
it's so much. It's like every time that I hear something or see it, just like with the debate the other day, and how someone was saying how, no, I said this, that what we saw Madam VP, Madam P in scene in soon, how she handled herself, the decorum that she had, she was prepared. Everybody, how she knew all the questions. It's called preparation. Usually
Yeah.
what we, especially as women, do. And then she was poised to handle mess like that. And then she knew how to pivot whenever something else came up. So I think that honestly is a part of our behavior and how we handle things, how we handle going into the boardroom, how we handle budgeting, or how we handle whatever, is that we are automatically like, it's like innate, like we snap instantly for some, but for some others, it could be a little bit slower based upon the environment that you had. And there, if you didn't have the same environment that you've seen people have with certain aspects, or elitism, is that's a whole nother thing I could talk about, is how people see elitism as a way of being above, which is going back to whole behavior finance, is that even if someone is a little bit different to progress as you, that they still have the option to do so. It's been so many out the mud stories where people have come up because they had that shit. Yep.
That's good. That is good. Nadia, you've given us a lot, and I'm so excited. This was a really good episode, but I want everyone for you to tell everyone how to find you on all the things, all the platforms, everything.
Okay, my own company website, the Brands and Bands Strategy Group. We are advice only flat fee. When I say advice only, when you hear financial planning, they're going to charge you an AUM, which is asset under management. I do not charge that because I want you to learn how to manage your money when it comes to your assets. We are at the www.thebrandsandbands.com. On almost every social media platform there is, you're going to either find The Brands and Bands or me, Envy Knows. Why do I have that name? I'm not a relation to Beyonce, even though I'm a Virgo. It's because someone noticed that when they had a question about something, I just instantly knew how to answer it. So I know everything they said. I really don't. So I'm at Envy Knows, or either The Brands and Bands Strategy, The Brands and Bands on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, or what have it. Also on my YouTube is more into Envy Knows. My newsletter, Fumbled to Funded. Why did I start that? I pivoted that hard because I was fighting it, and it goes back to what we were talking about, because I made learning lessons with my money where I effed it up. I like how I cleaned it up and I caught it. I fumbled my money. So now I'm walking through key aspects of tweets I see, comments I see, or whatever people talking about money, and I'm showing how to become funded. So you know what your means are, or understanding your aspect with money, you're able to grow it the right way. You hear a lot of people talk about, oh, I get the lotto and I blow it, because you didn't understand your money when you had 10,000. So how are you gonna handle when you have 10 million? So my newsletter is linked on my website as well.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Please make sure you go out to our website, subscribe to the newsletter. As you can see, I read it, and there's so many different things that you can learn. Go to subscribe to all piece and support her business. You know, as a lot of us grow and develop in our careers, we want to make sure that we're making the right money decisions, forgiving ourselves for the wrong decisions we've made, and moving forward.
Yeah.
this, guys, I don't think I've ever said, for those who are listening to the audio, we started this season actually doing video. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes. You can go to Join the Climb on YouTube and actually watch us smile and laugh about this episode there. But also follow us on our platforms at jointheclimb.com on both Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next time, keep climbing and keep building your wealth. See you later.